also right now we're about to go live on Periscope once again and on Facebook because we've got a very special guest, surprise guest that has turned up in a place where he once worked. His name is James Whale. He's just been kicked out. Well, when I say just kicked out of Celebrity Big Brother house a couple of days ago. He's reunited with Mike Parry for the first time, I guess, in a few years.
Oh, indeed.
James, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank
indeed.
you very
Yes.
much.
In fact, when we first started working together, it was in fact Talk Radio.
It was.
And it then became Talk Sport.
Yeah.
Now we're back on Talk Radio.
Yeah, it's funny how things go around like that.
Get around in circles, indeed.
You're
Yeah.
looking well, James.
Do you
Considering
think
your
so?
ordeal of the last 3 weeks.
That might be the makeup from this morning.
Yes, that'll do
Because
it.
I leave it on.
That will
Yeah,
do it. Yeah.
Because it makes me look healthier.
Yeah.
You were my boss, weren't you, for a while?
Indeed, yes. And I think
forgot
Did you
about
enjoy that? Was that worse or better than being in the Big Brother house?
That was fairly similar, actually, when you think
really,
about it.
yeah, but it shaped the rest of your career. So
No,
I
it
think,
did,
yeah,
yes,
I think
Michael,
that's,
yes,
I think
it
that's
did,
fair
yeah.
to say. Now, you just said a couple of moments ago, before we came in there, 3 of the most uncomfortable weeks of your life. You better tell us how the ordeal fanned out.
Well, I didn't expect to be in there quite as long as I was, to be honest with you. I thought I'd
Did
be
you have a
in.
plan to get out early?
Well, my agent said get out early, and you make the same money as if you stay in until the end.
Brilliant. Pocket the
Yeah, 'cause I
dough.
was away on holiday for the last 2 weeks, right? And it seems to me that you were up for eviction before I went away.
Yeah.
And so you managed to hang on in there for 2 more weeks.
Well, I was up for eviction 3 times,
Yeah.
4 times, I think, and only managed to get evicted on the final one.
And each time there was somebody more unpopular than you.
Yeah, and I was very upset about that because
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be the most unpopular
Yeah.
person there. But quite frankly, I think I think apart from Ricky and Frankie, I was probably the sanest.
Yeah.
Did you set out to be unpleasant?
Well, I thought.
He has a knack for it.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, yeah.
No, I don't know that I have a knack for it. I think that's slightly unfair, guys. I think, as Mr. Parry used to say, we are the voice of reason.
Yes.
In a mad, mad world. aren't we?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I went in to be me, and then when I found out everybody was completely barking, I thought,
But is that because they're trying to be barking?
Yeah.
Because you get the
Yeah.
impression that actually you strip away all of that. I mean, you are you.
Yeah.
You've always been you.
Yeah.
You know, people have listened to you for years. They know much more about you than any of these other people.
I think Stephen Bear is playing a game. I quite like Stephen. I stuck coffee on his head at the beginning, and after that realised that he was just doing something for his own ends.
Right.
The other people didn't seem to be able to realise that. Hey, listen, it's a few weeks. Why do you let him wind you up? Ignore him. It'll be fine. But no. They went mental.
Yeah.
Yeah. all
And
the
do you
time.
have to then develop some kind of strategy to deal with him? Because I mean, you look at all the coverage that it gets in the papers. It doesn't get as much as it used to get. But you know, there's obviously
It's not going to get much now you're out.
Well, in fact, the ratings have now plummeted since you went
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Well, the ratings have been the best that Big Brother's had for about 3 or 4 years. So, and it was. I didn't expect it to be as hard, and I didn't expect it to be as difficult and aggravating as it was. You can hear I'm a bit croaky. I went in. I got asthma because of the. I mean, it's filthy in there.
Is it?
They give you a vacuum cleaner
No.
for 45 minutes every 7 days. That's it. If you want to wash any clothes, it's in the bath.
Right.
No washing machine.
Right.
No dishwasher.
Right.
And did I tell you all this before you go in, or is that what you discovered?
No. You discover when you first go in, you find you might have to share a double bed with one of the other people.
Well, it depends who the other person is, I suppose.
Well, if it was you, you know, nobody would want that, would they?
No, well, they wouldn't get in.
Well, no, there wouldn't be room
you know,
for 'em,
exactly.
because
Yeah,
Could you
it's,
imagine if you
yeah.
and I had been in there, we had to share the same bed?
No, I can't. No, I'd have fled.
Yeah.
I'd have broken the window and got out.
Well, you can't. You can't.
Yeah.
And at night time, they shut you in the bedroom. Down come the blinds, and they lock the door.
Right. So you're still
locked in.
you're being filmed all the time.
Well-
Is there any point at which you're not being filmed?
when you go to the bog.
Right.
But I'm not actually convinced they haven't got a camera hidden in there.
Yeah.
No,
Because
exactly.
they seem to know what you're doing.
Right.
There are no locks on any of the toilet doors.
Right.
The shower is full of women's bits. They just leave their razors in the shower. They leave their soap in the shower. They leave their underwear all over the floor.
It's like being married.
No.
It's like being married. Then.
Yeah.
And when you're in bed, you see, I put my sunglasses
Well,
back
you
on
wore sunglasses in bed, didn't you?
because you're in a studio. And until they put the lights out, you've got the very strong studio lights. And it's impossible
How
to
cut
see.
off are you from the outside world then? Or is it all together? Totally. So, I mean, no, to the extent where, like, on a desert island, you don't know how many days you've been there or something like that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't
but the
know
funny
what-
thing is now, before sort of social media and all of the crazy stuff that we all do, you know, it wouldn't have been as bad. But now, I mean, to be without your mobile phone, it must have been torture.
You have no phone, you have no books, no music, you have no news, no television, no radio.
So
no
what do you do during a 24-hour cycle of day? You're
Well,
supposed to. They don't let you do anything else, so you continue talking or aggravating the other
and
inmates.
if you're not
yeah?
aggravating enough, then they throw a spanner in the works.
Yeah.
Like they called me into the diary room one day and said, "Right, Big Brother has got a task for you." I said, "Right, what?" You have to go and argue with every housemate for the next couple of hours. So whatever.
Now, you're good at that, though. That's what you do, right?
Yeah, but what I didn't know that they told all the housemates that I was going to do that, so they could, you know, and so I went up and Sam Fox said, "What do you think of what I'm eating? I've just cooked this," and you know, I said, "That's disgusting. That's about the worst thing I've ever tasted." Then she burst into tears. I thought that's an extreme.
Why? Just because you criticise somebody's nosh?
Well, you know, she knew that she thought that was funny, and then I'd been having long discussions.
And do you then have to put your kind of conscience on hold, as it were? Because
Yeah.
if you see a woman crying because of something you've said, normally you
Yeah,
might.
but she wasn't really crying.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So you have to suspend your sort of general reactions.
And then one of the Americans started, every time I said, they said, "What do you think of that?" I said, "I think that's absolutely ridiculous." So they turned it round on me, and I thought, something's not right here.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And then the other time I got put in prison with Stephen Bear for a couple of hours, quite fun, because we'd been naughty, you know, you get punished in there
Yeah.
as well.
What
And
do
then
they do to punish you then, or shouldn't we ask?
no, they put you in prison. Another time they made me wear this pink all-in-one outfit
Yeah.
with hair.
Well,
So
you didn't
then-
have to do the George Galloway cat thing.
No, I wouldn't have done that. No.
Can you refuse to do stuff?
Oh yes, in fact we did refuse.
Did you
to do a
refuse?
lot.
What did you refuse to do?
I refused to drink something that wasn't very pleasant, but I mostly tried to keep a low profile and keep my, you know, there was that, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a bit where a young girl called Marnie, who's in there, she's from something called Geordie Shore.
Yes.
Yeah.
She got her
Great show.
out and wiggled them in the face
Well,
of Syra.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, I mean, there's an awful lot of what I would describe as choreographed sexual activity. It doesn't seem particularly natural,
Yeah.
which
think
is
you'd be
obviously,
right.
Yeah,
which is obviously
yeah.
for the ratings and all of that. I mean, did they not try out any of that on you to
No,
see what your
no.
reaction would be?
No, but if you happen to be in a bed where it's going on opposite you, that begins to get a little bit
Uncomfortable.
Well, that's
Yeah.
got the sunglasses back on.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, but I don't know. It did all seem a bit contrived in
Yeah.
many cases.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, having done it, do you regret doing it?
No, not at all. No. I mean, it's an interesting way to look at yourself, and you see right inside yourself.
What about the boredom factor though? Because I mean,
You
you've
don't
got a
have
very
time to
alert
be
mind.
bored,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? And
Well, you don't. You know, you're concerned with the dirt and how to clean up. You get woken up in the morning. You're fast asleep, and then suddenly all the studio lights come on and they blast music at you.
right, like being at Butlins.
Yeah, and I put my
What
glasses
do you mean
on.
in Butlins?
Well, at Butlins, when we were a kid, used to go there, and you're woken up by a tannoy outside your chalet, which sang "Good morning, good morning, good morning."
That's horrendous.
It's another
You paid
Butlins
the
day.
difference between you and him was that he got paid to be there. You got paid to be at Butlins.
Well, I wasn't. My dad was.
No wonder
wasn't I?
you're so tortured.
Yeah. So first thing, it's never first thing in the morning. You think it's really early. It's about 9:30, and you don't
Right.
get to sleep till 3 because
No.
they won't turn the lights off.
Is there any natural daylight at all?
in the garden?
Oh, in the garden.
But
Yeah.
there's a net over the top,
Right. Yeah.
so you do still feel a bit enclosed.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And it's plastic grass, and there's a jacuzzi and a little pool. But you know, I don't.
What about the intake of alcoholic beverage?
Well, the intake of you every evening. The Big Brother comes. You never see Big Brother. It's just a noise comes on and says, "There is refreshment in the storeroom now," and then all the ones who can't live without it rush. And then what you find them, they nick all the booze and they hide it and then pretend there wasn't much in there. I didn't drink. Excuse me. I didn't drink much for the entire time I was there. A couple of beers, I think that was about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, is it quality stuff like a bit of Pinot Grigio?
Is
and
it,
all
why are
that,
you
or-
asking this? Is it because you? I mean, because
Well-
there have been people who said you should go in there.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I'll ever get invited, but if I do, it's
Yeah.
nice to have a pal
Yeah,
who's been
yeah.
in there to draw on his experience.
It's not quality stuff at all, and the beer is warm.
Right.
The
Okay.
wine is warm, and the beer is warm.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
sound
that wouldn't
good.
bother you. Have you been sworn to secrecy about anything?
Yeah.
Having come out?
Yeah.
What, like what?
I've been sworn to secrecy about it.
Well, yeah, but you can dance around it. You're
Yeah.
a skilled
Well,
broadcaster.
you can ask me a question, and then
Yes.
I might dance.
Okay. Do you have to not reveal the intimacies of some people's relationships in that house?
There were no intimate relationships in that house other than the ones you saw on the screen.
Right. I see.
Most people couldn't stand each other, and they went from one, arguing with one person to arguing with another person fairly regularly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, James, if you can stay with us for a moment, we've just got to do a quick little scenario here, which pays everybody for us to be here, because we're very expensive, aren't we?
Exactly.
Yeah. This is Talk Radio. James Whale is here. He's been thrown out of the Big Brother house, but he's not getting thrown out of Talk Radio. So when I say another, I'm not being, bigging up
you're
myself.
right, I
I'm
think you're
talking
right.
about Mr. Parry and James Whale,
Oh, absolutely.
who used to work in this very building for Mike Parry.
Yeah. Well, we're in the same team. Put it that way.
Yeah,
In the same
yeah.
team.
I mean, there's many pieces of archive material we could go into,
In
but
fact,
I'm not sure if
yes,
we've got
In
time.
Oxford Street,
Yes.
wasn't it, when you were?
We started in Oxford Street,
Yes,
indeed. Yeah.
I remember that place. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't work there then, but I came to visit one night when
Did
you were
you?
on, actually.
Yeah.
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 I was out drinking with a senior executive at the time.
Oh,
He said, "Oh, would you like
Because
to
you
come
do
in?"
know a lot of those people.
I
don't
do,
you?
yeah. And through no fault of my own, it has to be
No,
said.
no,
Just happened to work for them, and I remember going in, and I'm a bit squiffy, and I remember seeing you in the studio looking particularly perturbed that this idiot had suddenly turned up
Were you a bit,
to watch you.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't mouthy. I
No,
was sort of it because I worked for newspapers in those days. I was
Yeah.
very much in awe of the whole radio thing.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I mean, speaking of that,
Still are, aren't you?
in all of it,
Yeah,
I think
exactly,
radio is
yeah. Still trying to
magnificent.
work it out.
I
Isn't it?
see. I think radio is
Picking on
magnificent.
the
The
strain now.
difference between you and James is that James loves radio.
Yes.
You just love yourself, and you
That's a
don't
bit
really
harsh,
care
isn't it?
what
You know?
medium you use.
That's a bit
You're saying James is a craftsman and I'm not. Is that
I'm
what you're
saying that he takes his art and his
fair.
craft seriously.
Yeah, well, I mean, just take it seriously. In fact, I saw you quite recently on Sky News doing the old paper review, you know.
I do that every couple of
And
weeks.
thought to
Exactly.
himself, why am I not doing that?
No,
Did you think that?
No, I
Should
didn't
I have
at
a
all.
word?
No. I get invited in now and then to
Did-
Sky to.
He does actually. Yeah, he got
Yeah.
invited in as an expert on Coronation Street.
Exactly, I did, yeah.
Are
we're-
you an expert on Coronation
Well, I would
Street?
say I pretty much am, yeah. I would say I pretty
Because
much
I'm
am.
an expert on Emmerdale.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Anything you want to
Yeah.
know.
But you'll be a proper expert. See, we do a thing called Porky Vision where he
Yeah.
tells people what's been on the TV, and normally he's about 3 months behind. With
Yeah,
Coronation.
I am, yeah, definitely.
But,
Well, you
uh,
don't have time to sit down and watch it every night, do you?
Well, when I think about it, I haven't seen it for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
I have
well,
no
it's-
idea.
Well, exactly. I mean, you
Exactly,
missed
yeah.
the Olympics as well, presumably.
Has the Olympics been?
Yeah, it's been gone. Closing ceremony last night.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I
Team
haven't turned
GB
the
did
tele-
very well.
Did they?
Yeah, came second.
Yeah, beat China.
Really?
Yeah, knocked China sideways, so
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Well,
Yeah.
the Russians weren't there, were they?
Not really, no.
No.
No,
No.
well, whatever the Russians were there, weren't there, if you see what I mean.
No, quite.
Yeah.
Did
Now,
we beat the Americans? Or
no,
No,
they
no,
won.
they way top.
The Americans came top, but the fact that Britain came second was pretty
very
amazing.
good. I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
So-
so, what happened to the summer holiday this year then? Was this your summer holiday?
Well, it was really. Yeah, that was my holiday, and I haven't told anybody where I was going. You're not allowed to say.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because I mean, one of the things that always puzzles me, I suppose, and others, is that when you get the call, as it were, that something's you're going to be offered a position there. I mean, what do they tell you? Do they tell you how much the money is? Do they tell you who else is going to be in there? Do they give you
Nothing.
options?
No.
Is it take it or leave it?
I was approached by an agent who said, "Would you do it?" And I said, "Not in a million years." He said, "Well, come and have lunch. I'll tell you how much you could make." And I went on. I thought, "Well, that's ridiculous." So I asked for more.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said no, and he came back and said, "Yeah, we can do that." I said, right, okay. And that was in March.
Right.
I didn't think any more about it, and then it got nearer the time, and I said, "Well, can I find out who else is going to be in?" No.
Right.
So I went in having no idea who was
Yeah.
going to be there, except they put you in a hotel for the day before.
But presumably you have to also block out at a certain point a whole period of your life
Yeah.
in advance without. I mean, can you tell? You've obviously you can't tell people, but I mean, you must have had to tell somebody.
Told Mrs. W.
Yeah.
But we didn't tell the kids until a few days before I went in. Have not told quite a lot of my friends.
And how much contact are you allowed with your immediate family when you're in there?
None.
None.
So what?
None.
No,
That's
but
the point.
what happened? What happens if? I mean, do they allow your family to contact you? Should there be a
No.
family emergency or something
If-
like that?
If there's a family emergency,
Yeah.
then they will contact you. And
Right.
because I don't think I can remember a time when I haven't spoken to Mrs. W. If you're away for weeks
Yeah.
on end, you always phone people up,
Sure,
don't you? Say hello.
sure. Yeah.
None of that. Don't know how anything is going on. You forgot the Olympics.
That must
were on.
drive you slightly mad, mustn't
Well,
it?
it did drive me slightly mad, and a couple of times I went into the diary room and said, "Listen, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
I need to know how my wife is,
Yeah.
and if you don't tell me," and they said, "Big Brother can't tell you anything, but rest assured, if there was anything wrong, you know."
Right.
So you kind of go out again, and then at the end, well, not the end, a week or so before I came out, they brought my dog in,
Right.
and I nearly cracked up.
Yeah. I bet.
Yeah.
Apparently
Because I
did
mean,
crack up.
yeah. Well, this is the other thing. I mean, it's a bit. I mean, we're being filmed now. I mean, you might now sort of have it in your mind that you're constantly being filmed. I don't know what the after effects. I mean, like post-traumatic stress type scenario. I'm not diminishing that.
Yeah,
but do you know what I mean?
I think there is a bit of that. You come out, and
I mean, you like
get
looking around.
20 seconds to say goodbye to people you've been ensconced with.
Yeah.
You go up those stairs, and by the way, when there's a live eviction show, you can't hear any of the show outside. You don't see anything. They play noise into the house, so you can't hear what's going on just outside.
No.
Right.
And then Emma comes to you and says, "Good evening, house, don't swear," or whatever it is. I don't know why they say that when they've been swearing all the time.
Yeah.
They tell you who is up for eviction, and then they tell you who's going to go, and you sit there and wait, and if it's your name, up the stairs you go and out.
And let's get back to what you can't tell us, the secrets that
Oh,
you're
yeah,
currently
yeah.
holding. No relationships that we know of
No,
that were going on
Yeah.
before that. I mean, are
What
there
about-
things that people say, for example, that I mean, you don't know what's being broadcast, I guess, either. I
You
mean,
don't know what's being broadcast. I had no idea, and shouldn't talk about it really. I had no idea about all the controversy that Biggins had caused,
Yeah.
apparently,
Yeah.
because you couldn't find a less offensive guy,
Right.
and apparently
But you knew what he'd said, presumably.
I didn't hear what he said.
Oh, I
no.
see, okay.
No,
Because he says that in the diary room, does he?
well, no, I think he'd said it somewhere else, but I wasn't.
Oh, I
there
see.
at
Yeah.
the
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
I know he'd upset Katie at one point, but he had apologised, and I hadn't heard what he'd said. But on the night that there was going to be the first eviction, we were told Biggins has now left the house. He went into the diary room and he never came out.
Right. Okay.
And they asked me to go and pack his clothes up, which I did,
Yeah.
and put in the corridor.
It's like a Spitfire pilot from the Second World War.
Or a newspaper editor.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was it. We didn't know what had happened. We didn't know why he'd gone. We surmised actually that he was only ever employed for the first week and then just to go.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then it changed the dynamic of
Do
the
you
house.
talk inside about how much everybody's getting? I know that'd be a very American, like the Americans would do that, because I
Some-
mean, they talk about money all the time.
Some people, well, all the Americans do is swear most of the time. And I did have a bit of a time winding up Renee, the mob wife, about how little she knew about the United Kingdom. She didn't like the United Kingdom much. And she went, "I want to get the hell out as soon as I can." I said, "Well, we might not let you
Oh,
out."
did you not tell her that actually it's not like this all in the United Kingdom? You know? You're not constantly.
There's no
didn't seem to
windows.
understand.
No windows.
Now, a
to throw
couple of
you
quick
out of.
questions because we're running out of time.
Okay.
One, you've been back into this building for the first time in I don't know how many years. Any danger of you coming back for a longer period, perhaps permanently?
Never say never in life. That's what I say.
Never say never. It's a good answer.
Never
isn't
say
it? You know,
never.
Could be
And
something in there.
secondly, have you seen Porky's Dive, and what do you make of it?
I was just looking at it outside, and it's fairly balletic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
In
balletic,
way.
yeah.
Well,
It
the
is.
starfish
Yeah.
thing is
Yeah.
really quite
Yeah.
extraordinary. The fact that he can do that at his
Yeah.
age
Yeah.
and at his weight,
What do you
I
mean?
find amazing.
Yeah.
No, no,
Is your stomach okay after that?
Well, it was a bit of a sting, but I just braced
Yeah.
myself. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that only 1/3 of my heart still works. And how is your own health position? Yeah, looking pretty
He's
good.
showing us a scar now.
Yeah,
Blimey.
yeah.
That is a big scar.
Yeah.
as
But,
I've
but you
seen.
haven't had any repercussions, any problems?
Touch wood, not yet.
Excellent.
No,
That's
no,
good to know.
no.
That's good to know.
Yeah, you did come and visit me, didn't you, a couple of times?
Of course I
when was
did.
here?
Yes,
Of course
yes,
you did,
absolutely.
That's a nice
And
thing to do.
yeah,
Well,
well,
no,
that's
I
the sort
was
of
only
thing I
down the
do.
road in hospital.
Sort of thing I
Very
do.
nice, yeah.
And just finally on the big house thing, if somebody in there told you they'd murdered somebody 3 years ago, have you signed an omerta? It's called, isn't it?
Omerta.
The omerta, the vow of silence.
No, because if they told me that, I'd be selling the story as we speak.
Yes.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that might be what you do next, as far as you know.
What, you mean a book?
Well, there are things that I'm not revealing until somebody offers me enough money.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Well, it won't be
So,
us.
so really, so this is not contractual. This is not conscience. This is let's make more dough out of it.
Wouldn't you?
Of course I would.
Yeah, well, there
And I'm
we
glad
are.
that you haven't lost the principles of journalism that we were all brought up on.
Yeah, well,
that
I
is
learned from you.
cashing on vital information. Information is property, and if it's your property, get a price on it.
I think you're absolutely right. And I remember those words coming out of your mouth many, many years
Exactly,
ago. Probably
indeed.
15, 16 years ago.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So the final question then has to
Well, we're
be:
going to just stop for 1 second because.
is there going to be a book?
Well, he just said if anybody
There
offers
might
him the
well
money
be.
for it.
There might well
Nobody
be.
might already be talking to
there
people
might-
about it.
well, Yeah, we are.
Well, he might be.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So a book, possibly a radio show, possibly some more television. Yeah. We're going up to Edinburgh Festival this weekend, and
Are you?
John Holmes, who's coming up next, is already up there. John, very good afternoon. Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can actually.